the world was a very different place the last time we talked. And I'm not just talking about marching arts, I'm talking about, like, the world, the entire planet. Weird. Weird times, but the only thing I know is the marching arts, so I'm going to help us navigate through that. There's a lot to get to. This may or may not be a really long one, depending on how much I want to talk. Pretty tired. If you follow my social media pages, you know exactly why. But here we go. Let's get the energy up. Let's do this. We got lots to talk about. Appropriately titled "The Aftermath of the Marching Arts," or "For the Marching Arts," or whatever I titled the document. I don't know. Anyways, good morning again. Daniel Valdez again. It is a pleasure and honor to talk to you, whether you're listening on the YouTube page, whether you have subscribed to me through Anchor.fm, or the Google Podcast, or the Apple Podcast, or Spotify. Anywhere you can get tasty podcasts. This stupid little show is probably on there. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for listening and subscribing and all that stuff. Quick thing, TexasFans.com forums is going through a little bit of an upgrade right now, which is awesome. I didn't plan that. I don't know how that works. I'm mainly a content person. I know my place in the world, and I am going to stay in my lane in this. So go there and check it out, and let us know if there's anything missing or broken or anything like that. We're working on it. And when I mean we, I mean robots that we hired to do this stuff, because I'm not smart enough to do it. Anyways, that's going on. Make sure to follow, if you're on Facebook, make sure to follow the TexasFans.com Facebook page. We got all the latest news about cancellations and all sorts of stuff going on. Follow me on Instagram at Danpodcast. Whatever. Okay, lots of stuff to get to. I actually had to take notes on this one, because there were so many things that have changed in the last week that I had to write them down. I usually have a pretty good memory. It's not photographic, but I usually have a pretty good memory. But with everything that's happened in the past week, I needed to take notes on what the hell happened this last week. So let's just jump into it. WGI, the last time we talked, I think regionals were about to be canceled or were just canceled, and I think later that day, like after the recording came out, World Championships were unfortunately canceled. So yeah, and that kind of created a trickle-down effect. WGI World Championships got canceled, and then every small local circuit in your favorite state started closing up shop, just saying, hey, we can't put these contests on. Whether the local health organizations or local government said, hey, no gatherings, or whether the organizations, the color guard circuits themselves made the call to just say, it's not worth the risk getting that many people together in a close, confined space. So winter guard, winter drumline, wins, it was all gone. It's all been canceled. Two things that I loved seeing, though. It's a bummer, yeah. A lot of seniors didn't get their final hurrah, or wherever they were hoping it would be, whether it would be at a power regional or WGI championships or state championships at your local circuit. By the way, independent for WGI, independent age outs, or age outs that were part of an independent group, I think they get another year of eligibility, which is great. A good move on WGI's part. Two things that I saw that were really inspiring. Number one, people continue to dance and spin flags and toss rifles. Awesome. Even then, even with the season canceled, a lot of people, even though they couldn't go to school, they're like, well, I got nothing else to do. Why don't I film myself doing some flag work or doing some rifle work, which is awesome. I said last week, keep spinning, keep dancing, keep doing what you need to do. And a lot of people are doing that and continuing to do that. So that's really awesome. Another thing that I loved seeing, a lot of units scrambled to put on final performances at their local gyms or at their high schools. The writing was kind of on the wall. Schools were looking like they were about to be closed. So a lot of units got people together, used social media, the power of social media, to try to get as many people together or try to get the units together as quickly as possible so that they could put on like a final performance. I know that happened a lot in the Austin area and the Houston area and whatnot. So kudos to you all for continuing to, just continuing to perform. That's what you got to do. So even though there's no crowd or a limited crowd or whatnot, a performer's responsibility is to go all out for the audience. And I'm glad some of the units were able to do that before everything started closing down. So WGI for the rest of the 2020 season is officially over. Bummer. I love going to those contests though. Anyways, let's keep going. WGI, done. UIL. This is going to be an interesting one. Here's what's going on with UIL. UIL basically released a statement a couple of days ago saying it is up to the regions. Everybody was asking, what's going to happen with concert and site rating? What's going to happen with that? What are we going to do? Well, UIL basically said it's going to be up to the regions to decide whether they want to postpone those contests for a further date or if they want to cancel them outright. It's up to the regions. Whatever they want to do. I can see a lot of regions canceling it. I can see a lot of regions postponing it until a further date. I think it's really going to come down to how much the region is affected by this whole virus thing. So, that's UIL's recommendation. However, concert and site rating, this is what's going to happen. If you're going to reschedule it, academic and athletic events that were postponed already essentially take precedent over the concert site rating. The reason why is because the athletic events and academic events that were canceled due to the whole virus thing, those have advancement implications, as in a lot of those events have to be played out for, there's advancement purposes. There's, hey, if we win, we go on to area or we go on to state or whatever. Or, hey, we have a chance at a state championship. Those things got canceled. Therefore, that's going to take precedent over concert site rating. Whereas concert site rating, there's no advancement. You go in there, you get your one, hopefully, and then you go back home and you eat pizza for dinner. So it's definitely two different types of competition and two different types of performances we're dealing with here. So that's UIL's recommendation. Leave it up to the regions, figure out what you want to do, and if you're going to reschedule, remember that academic and athletic events are going to take precedent because they need to be rescheduled too because of advancement implications. The State Wind Ensemble Festival has been canceled. The State Solo and Ensemble Contest is still going forward. It's very much a wait and see thing because it's like a month or two from now. So those of you who've worked up solos for an ensembles for State Solo and Ensemble Contest, that is still on as of right now. Of course, this is a very fluid situation, so it could or could not change in the blink of an eye. Just keep your eyes and ears peeled in case that changes. And honestly, I don't know how that's going to shake out. BOA 2020. Got a lot of questions from last week from people asking if the fall season is going to be delayed in any way. I'm going to get to that in a second. But as far as BOA stuff goes, the Music for All little concert festival that they do every year in Indianapolis was effectively canceled. That was a bit of a hectic situation, and I got to give props to all the volunteers that worked that event. I have a buddy of mine who worked that event and basically said it was a trying time. Think about this. Some ensembles were already at the festival when everything went down last week when businesses started closing and sports leagues started closing up shop. Half of the ensembles were already there. Half of them were not. There were text messages sent early in the morning to ensembles. Frantic text messages. Hey, do not travel to Indianapolis. Stay home. Do not travel to Indianapolis. It was basically a race against the clock. Local health organizations stepped in. They're saying, hey, don't let this, and not just in Indianapolis, but all over the United States. Saying, hey, nope, don't do any public gatherings. Please don't do it. It's not worth the risk. The ensembles that were there, I believe, received instruction and clinicians, because the clinicians were already there. You're not just going to have them sit around like, hey, yeah, I would love to learn how to play my instrument better, not only as an individual, but as part of an ensemble as well. I know the Honor Band of America had a very lovely time working up pieces. The only thing they couldn't do was perform in front of a giant crowd like they were anticipating. So that's what happened there. Kudos to all of the volunteers that were there that helped. I mean, there was a situation where, stages were set and then, everything's canceled. We got to take everything down. That is very difficult to deal with mentally. It's emotionally, physically as well. So thank you to all the volunteers that helped out at the MFA festival to make sure that everybody was safe and everything was taken care of there. Fall 2020, is that going to be delayed? Right now, it is way too early to tell about that. It is way too early to tell. I would anticipate how should I put it? The most change you're going to see, I think, is you're not going to be able to play your music. You're not going to be able to get your marching show music in May or April like some of you all have. You're not going to be able to play it or work it up as an ensemble, because that's what a lot of programs do. They go to concert sight reading contest, they finish that, and then it's like, okay, well, what do we do? Well, we're going to prepare stuff for the spring concert, obviously, but we're also probably going to work on some marching music stuff. That will probably need to be delayed, especially if you're going to redo concert sight reading for a later date. You got to focus on that. Then fall 2020 is something it just feels way too far in the distance. You can't even see it on the horizon yet. You know it's there, but you just can't see it yet. There's just too much going on currently. So fall 2020, I don't anticipate much of a change other than summer band being probably one of the most intense races to get to state we'll probably ever see, because everybody's pretty much in the same boat here. Everybody's dealing with the 8-hour rule. Everybody's dealing with the 8-minute show. And now everybody's dealing with not being allowed to go on school grounds. So it's going to be real interesting. It's just a weird time, and fall 2020 is going to be real interesting. There's going to be a lot of information, a lot of work that's going to need to be done in a compressed amount of time. And we'll see how it shakes out. At the end of the day, when the lights are on, you got to perform. So we'll make sure that gets a lot of attention when the time comes. TMEA, guess what? Oh, honor band tapes are due June 1st. Oh, it's a 6A year. Well, how's that going to work? Well, TMEA hasn't released anything official yet about pushing back dates or canceling the honor band competition entirely. I mean, there's a certain amount of recordings you have to do, or there's a limit of recordings that you have to do. I believe there's certain venues where you have to make this happen, where you have to record it, and there's all sorts of rules and regulations and stuff like that go along with recording for submission to TMEA honor band. So very, very fluid situation there. Like I said, the honor band tapes are due June 1st. Something that a lot of people are talking about, TMEA Clinic, the one that goes down every February where you see all the on-state ensembles and you go to the convention and then you get a ton of free stuff. TMEA has started doing invited ensembles. So if you have a percussion ensemble, you could submit a tape on your own and become like a feature program at the TMEA Clinic. Example was Marcus this past year. Their percussion ensemble, which was phenomenal, by the way. Those tapes, and it's not just for percussion, it's for jazz, it's for just like regular wind ensemble, whatnot. Those tapes are due in mid-May. Nobody in the state of Texas can really be in school until the beginning of April. So how's that going to work? Are the tapes are still going to be due at that date? Are we going to wait? It's a very fluid situation with TMEA. So if you're affected by that, stay tuned for more information about what's going on with the Honor Band and invited groups for TMEA. Drum corps. This is going to be a difficult one to talk about because there's a lot going on, and there's a lot that there's just a lot going on. Let's just say that. DCI yesterday, if you're listening to this on a Thursday morning, and if you are, great. If not, shame on you. Wednesday afternoon, they released a statement. Intentionally vague. I get it. Not a problem. We're working with local health organizations. Everybody's health is paramount. The main takeaway from that press release was 2 words: compressed schedule. That's what we're looking at. This was kind of anticipated. But how did they come down? And we don't know what the schedule is yet. We don't know what shows are getting cut. We don't know what shows are getting promoted. We don't know what the heck's going on. But here's how you come to that. Here's how you come to a compressed schedule. Crisis management. Let's take a look at this. When you're in a difficult situation like this, where you don't know what to do, take your 2 extremes and then work your way towards the middle. What's one extreme? One extreme was do move-ins at May. All the shows, all the DCI tour stays on schedule. We act as if nothing's happened, and we just keep plowing forward. Unlikely, but in the realm of possibility. Okay, what's on the other side? Cancel the DCI 2020 tour. Just scrap it. Forget it. It's not even worth the risk. We would put too many people in harm's way. Just cancel it. We'll try again in 2021. We'll issue refunds, and we'll figure out what to do next year. Not likely, but in the realm of possibility. Understand that in the last couple of weeks, everything from one side to the other and everything in the middle was on the table. Everything. You have to explore, as you want to try to give yourself as many options as possible. You don't want to try to paint yourself in a corner, because then things get really difficult and people get anxious, and relationships can be, not just personal relationships, but business relationships can be destroyed if you're not thinking clearly because you're anxious and whatnot. So everything was on the table. So the way you work your way in the middle, that's basically your compromise. A compressed schedule. What does compressed schedule mean? Well, without having an official word, you could probably guess that, yeah, some shows are going to get cut. And I would imagine that the larger venue, the shows that are in larger venues that would draw the, I hate to say it, that would draw the most income, that would draw the most money, that would draw the most attention, I would imagine those would be kept. The shows during the week, I would anticipate those to be dealt with, for lack of a better term. And that sucks. Now, granted, this is not official from DCI, and I don't know. I don't have any other information beyond that. But when you're talking compressed schedule, yeah, some shows got to go, and logically, it would make sense to keep the shows in the larger venues that are going to draw the most money and that are going to get the most attention. Sucks for the smaller programs. Sucks for the smaller shows, because a lot of the DCI tour takes place in the middle of the week at these small shows where it's a big fundraiser for the local band program there, and there's a very real possibility that a bunch of those shows are not going to exist, and those programs are not going to have that fundraiser, that big fundraiser that they rely on, that they count on every year. So that's going to need to be dealt with. There are a lot of questions with there's a lot of questions with DCI right now about how this compressed schedule is going to work. Do you do weekend-only shows? Do you do exhibitions during the middle of the week? What do you do? And in those exhibitions, do you ask for donations at that point? What do you do? What if one part of the tour is still affected by the virus? What if you're going to a part of the country that is just completely overrun and, you get to July or June or whenever the season starts and there's still a public health ordinance there? Then what do? You just turn the bus around? What happens then? That's a question we got to ask. How will tour fees be handled? That's a major question. Think about this. If I have worked and fundraised $3,000 to march with my favorite corps, and now it's a compressed schedule, I am going to be getting less drum corps for the exact same amount of money. Less drum corps experience for the same amount of money. And that's putting it in a very layman's term way. I know there's an emotional aspect to it. I understand that. Speaking from a strictly business standpoint, you would be getting less drum corps experience for the exact same amount of money. How are drum corps going to handle that? Are they going to lower fees? Think about it this way. There's really not a contingency plan for this sort of stuff when you're looking at budgets. There is no, hey, we need to lower... If a virus takes over the world and causes people to get sick and die and causes other people to freak out, we need to lower tour fees. Now, yeah, some groups are able to do that. They are financially stable enough to do that. Other groups have already spent that tour money. So, what's going to happen with that? And when the compressed schedule and the compressed tour, the limited tour, is released, if you're a performer, especially if you're not an age out, especially if you've got a couple of years left of eligibility, what do you do then? Hey, I'm only going to be performing 10 times this year? Is this really worth my time? That's a big question a lot of performers have to ask. This thing is so complicated with DCI. There's so many business relationships at stake. There's so many personal relationships that are being affected by it. The members are in limbo kind of right now, other than, March camps are closed and April camps are basically closed to person-to-person stuff, basically closed. Everybody's scrambling to figure out how to do stuff online. Bluecoats were one of the first people to announce an online camp where they're going to get one-on-one instruction from a bunch of their instructors, and they're going to do the best they can with that. So kudos to them. But what happens when the tour schedule is announced? And what do you do? If you're a drum corps, you got to make a tough decision. Do you say, hey, you paid us $3,000? You want to continue to, this is where we're performing. If you like that, come on down. We'll have you at a camp or whenever we move in. Great. Not a problem. If you don't like that, we'll refund you the fees, hopefully. Not saying that some will or won't, but, that's going to be up to an individual unit. We're living in very extreme times here in the marching arts. In DCI, these drum corps, these units, have very important decisions to make in a very limited amount of time. There are board meetings, there are conference calls, there are all sorts of stuff going on, people scrambling, trying to figure out what the hell to do. Because it's not easy. Because I would imagine that a lot of these units are not tone deaf. They understand the implications. They understand what's going on here. The decisions they make for the 2020 tour. Now, I'm not talking about just DCI. I'm talking about the individual drum corps. The decisions they make about how they handle this tour, how they handle fees, how they handle current members. this is going to have ramifications for a long time. And it could help or hurt recruiting for a very long time. People are going to remember who cooperated and who didn't cooperate. People are going to remember which units were heroes and which ones were not. It's not just members too, it's fans as well. It's boosters as well. It's people that donate money. Everybody's going to remember this season. And they're going to remember it for various reasons. And one thing that absolutely has to come into play here is how drum corps handle this. Now, public relations, yeah. Finances, yeah. Right now, they're about equal. Perception's everything. So how are drum corps going to handle this? Concepts of the original show. Original designs? Is that still a thing now? Remember, you've got less time to work as an ensemble. You got less time to figure out stuff. Do you rewrite a show? Do you cut down a show? What do you do? Will people show up? Are people going to show up to drum corps shows? Or are people going to be, when this gets kicked off in July or June, or like I said, whenever, I don't know when the heck the tour is going to start. Nobody does. But when it does start, are people going to show up knowing that the units have less time to get the product to where it needs to be? So, I don't know. We're going to see how that goes. It's going to be a very trying situation. But we'll make it through. I definitely hope, I definitely plan on showing up to a drum corps show. Absolutely. Just not sure which one yet, because I don't know when the tour is going to happen. Oh, and by the way, refunds for tickets. How the hell is that going to work? If you bought tickets to a show on a Wednesday in the middle of July, how's that going to work? A lot of stuff has to be done. That's why that statement was just kind of like, hey, we're working on a compressed tour, and, health and well-being, thoughts and prayers, and all that stuff. Standard stuff. Situations are very fluid now. Not just marching arts, but all over the world. Things change from day to day. I know personally at my work, things change hour to hour. And if you don't believe me, you should probably believe me. Things are going to change. Things are going to be fluid. Things are going to be taken away and dealt with and twisted and chopped and screwed and whatever term you want to use. The important thing when you're working with trying times and when you're working with the marching arts, the important thing, there's two things. Stay positive and keep going. Keep playing your instruments. Keep working. Play something. Do anything. A lot of kiddos that are listening right now are at home the entire time. They're at home for the next couple of weeks. And not by choice either. You all need to practice your horns. But believe it or not, your loved ones need to hear your music. They need to hear your music. They may not tell you. They may just, they may be sitting on the couch like, he's playing his tuba again. Sorry, tuba players. But they need that music just as much as you do. You need that music, yeah, because you want to get better as an individual. They need that music because because your parents and your loved ones, the adults are trying to figure this out as much as the young kids are. They're trying to navigate this. And yeah, you got to adapt. You got to change day by day. It's tough. It's challenging. It sucks sometimes. But two things. Keep going. Stay positive. That's what you have control of right now. That's what you have control of. And if you have control over that, why not own it? Music has helped people through the darkest of times. And it's going to continue to do that as we navigate this situation that we're dealing with. Keep playing. Stay positive. There's a lot going on with all the marching arts. I am very happy and I'm very honored to talk to you every week and give you updates and give you a little bit of opinion and, just kind of let you know how things are. So, with that, I am getting the heck out of here. I need to go eat breakfast. I need to, I don't know, I should probably go to the grocery store or something. I'm sure the lines aren't long. No, keep following me on Instagram at DanPodValdez. Keep following the TexasBands.com Facebook page. We'll have news, notes, updates, all that fun stuff. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for listening. And on a personal note, everybody that sent me messages over the past week, encouraging me and thanking me and all that stuff about where I work. It's been very challenging, but thank you to everybody who's encouraged me and told me to keep going and stay positive and everything. And just, you don't know how much that means to me. You don't know how much it means to all of my friends and colleagues and partners at work. It means the world to us. So just thank you for everything. I'm done here. I will talk to you next week unless something terrible happens, in which case I will jump on social media and give somber messages once again. Other than that, I'm done. I will see you soon. Take care. Adios. Bye-bye.